Well, all I can say to the people of South Africa, let us not lose hope. Yes, things are falling apart, things are disintegrating. If all people of South Africa can stand up and have a say in how this country should be governed, when elections come, people of South Africa must stand up and say, with my vote, I'm going to remove someone who has failed and look for an alternative.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Solimweng. Again, welcome to WorldView, the #1 media company where we explore everyone's perspectives on things that can broaden our own worldview. Today, we have none other than Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa, the new president. You're still new in that, right? New president of the IFP. How long do you remain new president?
Thank you very much, my brother, as well as the viewers. Yeah, still new, but moving away from being new.
Right. At some point, we have to judge you on your performance, not on the fact that, so that you no longer have excuses to say, but I've only just taken up this position. Now you're still in some kind of honeymoon phase, isn't it? Taking over from the former leader, Mr. Buthelezi. Or do you feel that now you are the man?
Yeah, all is good and well. Good. And what makes things also more good is to see the party regaining more ground,
right?
Attracting younger people, attracting professionals, and a variety of people, and getting acceptance wherever we go.
Right.
Whether you are in Cape Town, whether you are in Gauteng, whether you are in Mpumalanga, people are saying, we really want an alternative, and we can see what you are doing in KwaZulu-Natal, and we can see how the municipalities responded in the 2021 local government elections. And it's not because they were naive, it's because they saw a party that is able to deliver. And wherever we go, that is what makes things very good. The reception is amazing.
Is it happening throughout KZN, or is it happening more in the KwaZulu-Natal area, more in the northern areas of KZN?
No, the reception is good all over in KwaZulu-Natal. On the southern part of KwaZulu-Natal, we launched our KwaZulu-Natal Indaba, the listening campaign,
right?
To find out what people feel and want. The attendance was amazing in the evening dinner with a variety of stakeholders. Then the whole of the north of KwaZulu-Natal, all municipalities as an investment. But it's good even if you go outside KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah, Mr. Hlabisa, I get very excited when I get into these discussions sometimes. The only thing I've told our guests, our viewers out there, is that you are the leader of the IFP, but we haven't really spoken about where you come from. Who is Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa?
Velenkosini Hlabisa is a South African who believe in putting South Africans first. I grew up in South Africa, and I was molded by the circumstances in our country in understanding the poverty that was inflicted on Black people by the system of the segregated rule by the white people. I come from the background of being a teacher by qualification. I spent 24 years as an educator, but 20 years of the 24 years I was a headmaster, and I am one of the councillors who was a long-serving councillors from 1995 during the interim transition in the local government sphere up until 2019, when I left the local government to become a member of the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal. I have been a member of the IFP since 1978, 3 years after the party was formed, and I live in amongst people. I have never migrated from where I was born to cities because of the opportunities. I identify myself with the people who molded me and amongst whom I grew. Right.
But the IFP is the only party you know. That's quite impressive. You've never, it flows in your blood in some way, I would say.
Yes, but I understand all political parties in South Africa, because during the time when the ANC, PAC, AZAPO were in exile, it was the IFP, it was us who lifted up the colors of the IFP, making a clarion call that political parties in exile must be allowed to come back home. And all other parties then who were formed after 1994, after our freedom, I know all of them. Yes, one home IFP, but I know every menu of political parties in our country.
But the IFP was the very last party to accept to participate in the 1994 elections. What happened there? What did it take for the IFP to say, fine, we'll do this thing?
Let me say firstly, it was the IFP's belief that the problems of our country will be resolved through a negotiated settlement, CODESA. We participated eagerly at CODESA because it was our strategy that our country will be resolved through a give and take in a negotiated settlement.
Right.
It is also humbling us that today in South Africa, you have 3 spheres of government: local government, provincial government, and national government. That was the idea of the IFP, which was accepted by all parties. But now, we could not agree on other issues like the recognition of the traditional institution. We believe that traditional institution is part and parcel of the people of South Africa, especially Black people in various communities in South Africa. When the negotiators at CODESA, especially the ANC and the National Party, could not agree in recognizing the position of the traditional monarchy of the KwaZulu Kingdom, as well as all other traditional institutions in South Africa, we felt we cannot go into an arrangement that exclude the part and parcel of the African people, the traditional institutions.
Right.
And on a last note, with the intervention of a professor from the African countries, the IFP, in just a last note, when they agreed to settle that matter after the elections, we then agreed to participate in the elections in 1994. Unfortunately, that agreement was never kept by the ANC nor the National Party until today.
But wasn't that, I mean, that's also how the Ingonyama Trust was established, isn't it? As part of those last minute?
No. Ingonyama Trust was made before the completion of the negotiated settlement and was passed as a law in the erstwhile KwaZulu government and endorsed as a law in the National Parliament in Cape Town. So it had nothing to do with us and not participating and eventually participating in the elections. It was about the recognition of the traditional institution.
So there was, there are always discussions about a threat of some possible independence of KwaZulu-Natal, the same way that some people in Cape Town or in the Western Cape are talking about some form of Cape exit. I mean, would that happen? Do you see KZN one day splitting from South Africa?
No, that will never happen. The IFP would never support that idea. It is the IFP that refused to take independence of KwaZulu homeland, because we believe KwaZulu belongs to South Africa. If you want to come to KwaZulu, you don't need to get a passport. as it was the case with Siskai, Transkei, Venda, Bophuthatswana. So that is a lost idea. We don't believe in it, and we will vehemently oppose it. We believe in a united South Africa.
I'm very happy to hear that, because I really do love the rolling hills of KwaZulu-Natal. It's just such a beautiful place. I wouldn't want to have to get a passport to come and visit my KwaZulu-Natal.
Yeah, no, we would never support that.
Okay, all right. So let's move to today, 2022, 2019, 22. You are the leader of the IFP after taking over from the founding leader, really. And people tend to look at John Steenhuisen in the DA, and some people still think, oh, but you still have a Helen Zille hovering above you. You're just the face of it, but she's the real leader. Is it the same with the IFP? Is former leader Mangosuthu Buthelezi hovering above you? Or do you have to look over your shoulders, or are you your own man as leader of the IFP?
I am my own man as the leader of the IFP. The only difference is that it is not a good idea to exclude a person who can still make a meaningful change in the society and deprive him the experience he has to contribute for the welfare of our country. Let me just make a practical example.
Yeah.
When the king, Goodwill Zwelithini Zulu died last year, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi played a sterling job in burying the king in a dignified way and in transcending up to the reigning king. Of course, in any throne, there will be dispute, especially amongst African countries, but people should demonstrate who is the real king in a particular given time. Right. So now, his contribution, and you will agree that even in the national parliament, he still remains a voice of reason. We consult him, we count on his experience, but the party is under a full control of the new executive, of which I'm the president. And in every campaign, as we were driving the campaign 2021, I was in the forefront of the campaign. Even now, we are already on the mood of 2024. The by-election is our testing ground. I am in the forefront, leading the party in the preparation for 2024. So now, he remains a source of knowledge, wealth, and experience, but I remain the president of the party.
Is His Royal the King of the KwaZulu of the Zulus going to be above the fray in terms of political parties? The role of political parties in the KZN, or is he aligned to the IFP?
He has already demonstrated that. For record, the NEC of the IFP has never had a formal discussion with the new king. The ANC have had a meeting, the EFF had had a meeting, the DA have had a meeting. So that should tell we are still waiting for our appointment with the king, because we believe the king is a king of all people, political and apolitical, religious and non-religious. So he must be above everybody. And as the IFP, we will ensure that no one wants to draw the king into his or her political corner, but let us all promote, respect, and support the traditional institution as an umbrella of the people of the Zulu Kingdom. Okay.
Now, into coalition politics, South Africa is irreversibly moving into this era where nobody can take all of the power forever, which is good, I think. And I'm very happy that you started your introduction by referencing contesting, elections, choosing, giving the people the right to choose whom they want to vote for on the basis of whether that party delivers to them or not. Now, as we move into coalitions, the African National Congress is losing power all over the country, including in KZN. I see that the IFP is making, scaling some municipalities over there. The thing that worries many South Africans is that they especially those who want to get rid of the ANC because they are tired, they are fired, they are frustrated, they've been disappointed by its delivery over the years. Then you end up with the ANC going to coalitions with other parties. Basically, those parties are in some way giving the ANC power through the back door. Would the IFP do that? I mean, would you win an election from the ANC and then go into an election, into a coalition with the ANC to keep it in power?
As you have rightly said, coalitions are irreversible in our country. And we need to all establish a common cause. For the information of your viewers and yourself, I came back from Copenhagen in Denmark on Friday, since Saturday, the previous week. 8 political parties, the IFP, DA, ANC, EFF, UDM, COPE, Good, and EFF, and Freedom Front Plus.
Right.
We all went to Denmark. Denmark is one of the countries in the world who have the longest experience in coalition government. In principle, the ANC has failed all of us. Load shedding is a practical example. Unemployment, crime, economy has broken down, and worse, corruption has infected them as an organization. So the IFP believes that there is no way to clean the ANC except to take it out from power through vote. So we do not believe in a coalition with the ANC in a new dispensation because they have destroyed our country in essence. Our first priority will be people with a common cause to rebuild South Africa, whether it could be DA or EFF or Good or UDM, whatever political party that believes in uplifting the poorest of the poor. We will not hesitate to enter into a discussion and come up with clear coalition agreement and to be made public for people to know that this is what made these people to come together, even if they differ in terms of political organizations and policies, but they have a common goal to uplift the poorest of the poor, rebuild the economy, wipe out corruption, and ensure that those who benefit unfairly during the era of robbing our people, we confiscate what they got irregular, so that all those resources will be made available to the advancement of our people who are still staying in the shacks with no houses that afford them dignity, living in dusty roads, schools that are not at a good standard, and health facilities that are worse than what they have been in the past 10 years, because everything is deteriorating, collapsing, but we are not losing hope as the people of South Africa. We will be mobilizing the majority of the people who do not participate in the elections to ensure that they come out in numbers in 2024 to remove a failed government and put a coalition that will make their interest a priority.
So this coalition that will make their interest a priority. I'm glad that you mentioned the trip to Denmark. I saw an article written by Mr. Beaumont from Action SA, also relating his experience there. Now, are you guys prepared to go into coalitions with other parties ahead of the 2024 election, not after? Or is it your view that you should all contest elections in your own way, and then after that compare notes and decide, okay, you get that position, you get that position? Or do you want to say to South Africans, especially many South Africans who are not voting, who've given up in elections years ago, you want to say to them, this is what we're promising you, this is the coalition we're putting together, before you vote for us, approve us. When you vote for us, it will be a good sign of approval. Or do you want to go in as IFP and then cross the line on your own and then decide on the other side this is what currently what's happening anyway.
We will go as an IFP with our manifesto, promises that we'll be making to the people of South Africa. And once people have spoken through the ballot box, it is when we will consider who can we come together with for the best interest of the people of South Africa. Of course, prior elections, the preparatory meetings will be going on between various political parties to ensure that we make everyone aware that should a coalition becomes what people decide, we should not run away from. Because if there is no clear winner with a 50+1%, it means people say, come together and work as a team and have a common interest for the next 5 years while you remain your identity as political parties, but now as South Africans. Look at what you have promised to us across yourself, share your notes, see the common grounds, and then come together on the common ground and advance our cause.
Well, with due respect, Mr. Hlabisa, when nobody gets sufficient vote to lead on their own, it doesn't mean the people have said come together. It means the people have nobody enjoys full support of anybody. I think the people, if you came together before the elections and then said to the people, this is the deal that we're offering you, this is the either at local or provincial or national government, the team that we're proposing to lead you going forward. And if the people vote for that team, it means that the people are giving you a vote of confidence. But when you get 25%, another person get 10%, 15%, you all come together. It's not like the people are saying, okay, guys, we just want all of you. It's just the people. You find yourself with no choice, really, but to look for additional points elsewhere to put together a government, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, scientifically, it's correct what you are saying, but the practicality part of it. People will be going to the voting stations with a certain party in mind, which they have read its manifesto in its entirety and looked at the track record, and then they will be putting a cross against that political party. Because there will be no coalition alliance in the ballot paper. Then they will not be voting for a coalition alliance, but the people whom they will be voting, they trust them, that whatever the outcome of the results are, they are capable of sitting down for the good interest of the country should there is no one political party that gets an override win. But in KwaZulu-Natal, we are taking back KwaZulu-Natal to the IFP, as we have demonstrated in the local government sphere, and where we did not get a majority, we sat down with political parties and agree on a common cause. Of course, a coalition is like a marriage. Marriage is not a smooth sailing. You always have problems, you sit down, you reconsider the challenges, and you agree how you can go forward. So now, the experience that we are having now at a local government sphere is going to be of great value when we move forward beyond 2024 and even beyond 2026, 2029, going forward, because it looks like the coalition is going to be irreversible in our country, either at a provincial, local, or national level.
So do you see changes being made to allow independent candidates to participate in the general elections in 2024? Do you think that's the right way we should go?
Yes, because in fact, when Prince Buthelezi was the then Minister of Home Affairs, he's the one who appointed a commission under Dr. Van Zyl Slabbert that came out with a proposal that the current system of voting is not fair and enough to the voters. We believe that allowing independent people to stand in constituency will make more accountability on members of the legislature, and political parties will have to wake up, because if people are not happy with how you manage your things as a political party, they will go for independent candidates, and it will minimize the political parties' influence in the local sphere, provincial or national. So we believe this is the right way to go to ensure the maximum accountability of the representatives of our people.
Okay, so you're not threatened by that as a political party.
We're not threatened. This is common at a local government sphere. There are ward councillors, there are independent candidates, there are PR councillors, and this has been happening since the advent of freedom and democracy in our country. So it's nothing new, and we're not afraid at all.
So over the past years, the IFP, of course, we know that its strongholds have always been in KwaZulu-Natal, but it's tried to create more presence or to grow its footprint around South Africa. But how is it coming up? Are you guys feeling that outside of KZN, you making headways into strengthening your foothold?
Yes, the propaganda, violence played a major role in minimizing the spread of the IFP beyond KwaZulu-Natal. You know, in Gauteng, violence nearly wiped out the IFP from Gauteng province, but the IFP persisted to exist as a political party and is widely accepted now in Gauteng. We were in a coalition government with the ANC in the last term. Now we are in a coalition government with the DA in Johannesburg. Ekurhuleni is an indication that people of Gauteng have accepted the IFP. In 2019, when I took over, I promised that one of my priorities is to spread the footprint of the IFP. In November, I went to Gauteng, I went to Mpumalanga, I went to Limpopo, Northwest, and in February, I went to Free State. When I was about to go to Eastern Cape in 2020, COVID-19 kicked in. The whole of the year died like that. Even 2021, we only woke up after July when we had to prepare for the local government election, and we agreed that let us concentrate on our base, to build our base, KwaZulu-Natal, and we performed very well in 2021, as well as in Gauteng. We increased the number of our councillors in the municipalities, and now we're going to be driving a strong campaign to all 9 provinces of South Africa in the run-up to 2024 national and provincial elections. And what impressed me is the reception we received in Northwest, in Limpopo. The propaganda that was used against the IFP has died. The new generation, when you say IFP is a bad political party, they say, but the human beings in the IFP are people of modern time. They engage with us on issues. We are with them in the social media, in every platform of the social media, in all events in the social sphere. We are socializing with these people. So what are you talking about as a bad political party? The propaganda period has gone. Now it is time for the IFP to assert itself to the people of South Africa and put its policies, because even the ANC has been adjusting its policies, taking the policies of the IFP and trying to implement them halfway. Of course, COSATU and SACP is at war with the ANC. When the ANC looks at the good policies of the IFP, trying to implement them, we are now going to be coming out clear as a political party, presenting our menu to the people of South Africa. As I have said, what we have today, the 3 spheres, is an IFP view which ANC did not want. But at the negotiating table, we presented this view, it was accepted, and they said, oh wow, we only thought of a unitary state, not of a federal type
Right.
of a country, we still have more to do, because we believe more money should go to local municipalities, more powers, the issue of police to deal with crime, empower local municipalities, health issues, education issues, give more money to a provincial sphere and the local government where people are. Once we were given an opportunity as a government, we will make development more seen and closer to where people, by devolving powers and money to the local sphere of government, which is closer to the people.
Okay, look, I'm glad that you mentioned that the propaganda era is finished, because for quite a number of people, especially in the Reef, they still remember, you know, the fighting with the IFP supporters from hostels in the Reef in Gauteng, and there were accusations of the IFP being funded by the previous National Party's government, and you guys went to protest and outside the city press offices in protest to what some of the things that Mondli Makanya, the editor, has been writing over the years. I mean, is it propaganda? Is some of it true, or is it just being disrespectful? Which surely you can't just bury that stuff and expect people to just forget. Maybe there's got to be a point when the IFP says, okay, we did wrong, this is what we did, but please can we move on? Instead of saying you're lying to the world.
You see, let me just come in this way. The ANC and IFP owe each other and the people of South Africa reconciliation.
Okay.
Amongst 20,000 people who died, 12,000 were IFP members. They did not kill themselves. They were killed by ANC. PAC members who died were killed by ANC. AZAPO members who died were killed by ANC. So when we talk about violence, we should not use propaganda against one political party. We have to agree there were many players in violence and close that chapter. It shouldn't be one political party must take a blame and the other one be seen as holier than thou. This is what we are against with Mondli Makanya.
Okay.
Mondli Makanya, I'm glad he confessed that it is him who used a pseudonym Oscar Gumede during the period of violence. If you read the article he wrote in the Weekly Mail, you will see that this man was part and parcel of violence. There is somewhere he said, I enjoyed to see an IFP member being killed, and I did not regret because I did not regard them as human beings. They deserve to be killed. And a journalist, having said that, definitely is not going to be fair and unbiased to that political party if, in his own words, that is what he said. Now, we are not saying Mondli Makanya massage the IFP. No. We're not interested in that. But we say be fair with us. The ethics and morals of being a journalist, abide with them. Don't use the advantage that will control the pen and say everything that you like, but do not, and don't tell the world about your story. People will would have never known that Mondli Makanya used a pseudonym and detailed how he participated in activities where IFP members were killed. So now, when he writes against the IFP, what would you think? Would you not think that he is revenging? Because in that article, he says, I don't regret of what I saw and did because I never regarded IFP members as human beings. That is terrible.
Okay. Look, we have to acknowledge that we have a very, very, all of us, a painful history. You're absolutely correct that the conflicts that we experienced in the past involved many sides, and maybe there are, as you said earlier, maybe all of us have to reconcile, to stand up and say, look, let's acknowledge that we've done some really terrible things to one another. Black and white. not just white or black. Black people have done some really terrible things to one another. And maybe without that acknowledgement of sorts, which is honest, open, fair, I don't know, which comes from the heart, as it were, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to move forward, isn't it? Because South Africans many still live with this pain that so and so did this to me. But you're absolutely correct. IFP people who died didn't kill themselves, so maybe it's a discussion to be had.
That is why we believe in reconciliation. If we reconcile, we will have to acknowledge that things went wrong during the period of violence. We must acknowledge them. We must heal the wound and close that page, not wiping it off from history, but close that page and agree that let us create a new South Africa with a reconciled heart, with no wounds bleeding, because in any country where there was a liberation for struggling, there will be wars. In other countries, these wars don't come to an end. We thank God that in South Africa, we have passed through the stage of violence, because the killings that are going on now within political parties related to tenders is not about the struggle. So we have to reconcile, acknowledge the past, but not one political party, all of us who were involved, so that we close that chapter.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I totally agree with you. Now, let's go back to KZN. Former President Jacob Zuma, he who enabled, aided, abetted state capture, he who continues to run away from the courts, seems to be like a famous person in KZN. People love him. Even the African National Congress is divided on. There's a huge faction that supports him, another faction that's not too strongly coming out to say, "Look, we can't stand with this man." How do you guys in the IFP see that? I mean, do you see is it a threat politically to the IFP?
The existence of the former president and his presence in KwaZulu-Natal, the Honorable Jacob Zuma, is not a threat to the IFP, and especially now is a non-factor. When he was the president of the ANC and the president of the country, there was that thing amongst the people of KwaZulu-Natal that at least the president of the country comes from KwaZulu-Natal. Let us give him support. And apparently, there is that thing, charity begins at home. He will ensure that more development is channeled to his home province, which unfortunately was not the case, except poverty, corruption, deprivation of our people with resources. So now, at that time, he was a factor, but now he is a non-factor and is only a factor within the factions of the ANC. But from the general public and from the IFP, we are not concerned, because he is really not a factor. And we do not even want to participate in their issues because we have our agenda and the people's of KwaZulu-Natal's agenda.
So it doesn't matter to you whether the Taliban faction or the so-called Taliban faction of the ANC takes over, or the other faction. It doesn't really matter to you. It has no impact on KZN, not just the IFP.
No, it has no impact in the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Okay. Because I really don't want to talk much in terms of evaluating and assessing them. I really don't want to get into that sphere. But for the people of KwaZulu-Natal, I think the people of KwaZulu-Natal, they have a good menu in front of them. And they have a good experience. The IFP once governed KwaZulu-Natal. They know the kind of development, stability, which was there. ANC took over. They know the deterioration of everything to 0 degree. And now they do want to rebuild this province and also contribute in rebuilding South Africa. And they are clear that if you want rebuilding, talk of the IFP. If you want clean governance, talk of the IFP. If you want transparency, talk of the IFP. So we are looking forward in 2024 and beyond in building our province and our country into, once again, a good country that can compete with world countries in terms of economy, providing jobs, and ensuring that load shedding is wiped and made the things of the past. Because if the IFP can be given a chance, this load shedding issue will be history, because we know how to govern.
Yeah, look, a lot of black people, especially young black people, complain that they will continue to be poor as long as they don't own land. The whole expropriation without compensation thing, give us land and our material conditions will improve. Many people believe that. They don't look at how it happened in Zimbabwe. Now, in KZN, we have the Ingonyama Trust holding a lot of the land. There are worries that the people, the ordinary people, will not be able to access title deeds. If we were to give land to the people of South Africa, would you also push for the Ingonyama Trust to give title deeds to citizens of South Africa residing in KZN?
We believe that people of South Africa, especially black people who were previously disadvantaged, must own land. The current existing constitution do allow the government to ensure the giving of land to our people without even making the amendment. The ANC government failed to utilize the process that is accommodated into the law. You see, on the issue of the title deed, we also believe black people deserve the right to hold title deed for the insurance of the ownership of land. But if we can have more time so that we can explain this concept. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have many families who are polygamous families, where more females and more children live under one household. Whom are you going to give a title deed? If you give a title deed to one person who is working in Johannesburg, can go to the bank and use the title deed as a guarantor to borrow the money. If he fails to pay the money, the bank can go and claim the land in KwaZulu-Natal. And where are those people going to go to? Now, Ingonyama Trust was a first step to protect small pieces of land to be at the disposal of black people for building, for farming, for their livestock grazing, which is existing. That the second step is to now say, how much pieces of land do you have so that you are able to issue title deed? Because if you blindly issue title deed, you will end up with landless families, because very blindly you were driven by the concept of a title deed. Yet in a polygamous family, you need to be very clear. How do you ensure that giving one person a title deed does not put the rest of the family at a risk of losing the government should take that land without compensation and distribute it to our people. But you cannot take every land without compensation, like people.
So, which is, I mean, when you take away land that belongs, say, I live overseas, I have a piece of land in South Africa that I don't seem to be using. You want it to be taken away from me to be given away to somebody people with a title deed. So it's okay to give a land that belongs to somebody else to an individual with a title deed, but it's not okay to give land that is held by the Ingonyama Trust to individuals?
Okay, just here is a difference. Okay. The land that is not being used and the person is living overseas in a luxury place, but owns a land in South Africa, yet people of South Africa do not have land. On that land.
But there's a huge land there are huge tracts of land that are owned by government in South Africa, let alone Ingonyama Trust. So if you wanted to give land to people, you should look at how much land is in government hands and how much of it is being utilized.
Okay,
surely.
I was still going there. I said, firstly, there is a privately owned land by people who are not using it. They are staying abroad.
Right.
Secondly, there is land under the hands of the government we believe the government does not need to consult anyone for any compensation for that particular land. That is why I'm saying the ruling party failed people of South Africa. Now they want to hide under the amendment, which is not really an issue, because there is land at their disposal, which they should have given to our people, so that people are given the right to own land, and then take Ingonyama Trust into a second step. Look at the composition of the families who live in the Ingonyama Trust land. How are you going to ensure that if you give a title deed to one person, you do not expose the rest of the family? If you do it rushingly and blindly, you would be shooting yourself on the foot while you were trying to give ownership of land to people. What you must praise is that at least Ingonyama Trust protected land to black people during the time of apartheid.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It really does. I don't think a lot of people see it that way. It's I'm very happy that we're having this discussion.
If you can give us more time to explore and expand.
Maybe we should. Yeah. It's a really, really good point. Now, I have two more questions for you, maybe at least two. One, there was this whole traditional courts bill that many people fear would take away the rights of women, especially black women living in traditional areas, in rural areas of South Africa. Their right to access the national courts would be taken away and into the hands of chiefs. Do you support that we should have a dual legal system in South Africa, one for rural inhabitants of South Africa, one for everybody else?
No, we don't believe as IFP that there should be a dual system, one for the rural and one for the urban. We believe what has already been existing. Amakhosi, as a traditional institution, they have a special role to play in terms of ensuring peace, reconciliation, amongst people closer to where people are. But on matters of rights and violation of rights, we believe all South Africans, men and women, if you see, sometimes there is a family dispute that does not need to go into a court of law. That is resolved in a traditional office or traditional court. But even in the past, if you are not satisfied, you had the right to appeal. And even now, we believe that on minor issues that do not need courts of law can be handled at a society level. But if a matter needs law to be upheld free and fair to everyone, irrespective of gender, the court of law is the right and the last resort to go to. Because I mean, you want a matter that is resolved at a local level, even if you're not satisfied.
Yeah, but if you think in isiZulu angithi bathi umfazi ufanele abekezele, so indoda mayishaya umfazi, when a man hits a woman, the chief can say no, ufanele ubekezele nje, the man gets what he wants.
No. You see, gender-based violence is unacceptable. There is nothing that is wrong which must be done on a female, and then a female must persevere. We have a Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights explains the rights of all of us in South Africa. So the issue of the issue of sexual abuse, when children are abused by relatives, and then let us slaughter a goat to close this, we are against that. A sexual abuse matter should be treated in a court of law, because that is a rape. And people who are rapists must be penalized heavily. It mustn't be a social matter. You know, when you come on those matters, we are very clear as IFP. At a social level, we can talk about things when you just get into a quarrel as community members and you are able to resolve them at a society level. but matters of Bill of Rights, the violation of right of a human being, whether male or female, should be handled in the court of law.
Okay. So, final question to you, Mr. Hlabisa. Who is funding the Inkatha Freedom Party? I mean, let me coach this question. Actually, my question is bigger than that. The thing is, when we look at how the ANC has been funding itself, we know it's been doing that a lot through tenders, through all sorts of money, that was supposed to be serving the public interest, was used to, there was a lot of abuse of position resources. And now that the ANC's position in a lot of municipalities are being weakened, it doesn't have that exclusive, access to without consulting others to use public funds. I mean, maybe that's why it's trying to take back some of these municipalities. Is it the case with the IFP? Do you guys, rely on abusing public funds? I'm using this word deliberately in order to fund the party, or do you have other sources?
As you said rightly in the beginning, who is funding the IFP? The IFP is a self-funding organization. Our principle, self-help and self-reliance. Mm-hmm. That is why we are able to pay our staff members, we are able to rent our offices, we are able to run as an organization, irrespective of the changes that has affected the ANC, as they could not pay their staff members, which is a disaster and an embarrassment. How do we fund ourselves? In the joining fee is splitted. When you join as a member, there is money that goes to the administration offices, and there is money, a percentage that goes to the payment of the salaries, and there is a percentage that goes to the running of the organization.
But how much is it to join the IFP? How much is it?
It differs.
Okay.
It differs. An unemployed person pays 10 rand and a youth 10 rand. The adult employed people pay 50 rand. People like councillors, members of the legislature, we pay 100 rand. Right. So now we divide that money into percentage. That's source one. Source two, all councillors, members of the legislature, members of parliament, we pay a levy, which is a very big amount. Right. Because we talk of thousands per a member. That money goes to the office to run the office. And there is an allocation that we get from the government, the allocation we get from the IEC, like all other organizations. Right. The principle of self-help and self-reliance, on relying on our own to drive our programs, to ensure that the party lives, is what has survived us and what is going to keep us surviving despite the new changes that is affecting the ruling party today.
Okay, Mr. Hlabisa, this has been an awesome conversation. I think we should do it again, discuss land and other traditional issues that so many people are making so much speculation about. People speculate when they don't have the information, right? Until we have the correct conversation, the right people in the room, and address this issue so that people I would say, okay, maybe that's not what I thought, this is something else. Is there something else that you hoped I would ask you that I haven't asked you? Something you want to say to our viewers out there?
Well, all I can say to the people of South Africa, let us not lose hope. Yes, things are falling apart, things are disintegrating. If all people of South Africa can stand up and have a say in how this country should be governed, when elections come, people of South Africa must stand up and say, with my vote, I'm going to remove someone who has failed and look for an alternative. I'm not promoting the IFP or speaking against any political party, but everybody understands and knows who has inflicted unemployment, crime, weak economy, load shedding, corruption on us. Remove that person. Look for an alternative. We will liberate ourselves economically, not by any other political party. The voice and the power of putting an X in a ballot box is what will make our country to once again rise and become one of the superpowers in the world with a stable economy, a thriving future, jobs available. You know, I was in Copenhagen. Citizens are not allowed to own a gun because they say, what are you going to do with a gun? Because they are police. Crime rate is 0%. Unemployment rate is 0%. They attract people from outside to come and work in Denmark. But if you want to be a person working in Denmark, you must fill proper processes. You must go through proper processes of ensuring that you are known as an immigrant in Denmark. And we believe in South Africa, for those skills that we need, we must know who are those people who are foreign nationals in our country and how long are they going to stay, because we can't be a banana country that receives all people, even people we don't know who they are. That requires a government that will be able to be bold, that we are not xenophobic, we are against xenophobia, but we believe South Africa belongs to the people of South Africa first. Jobs belong to South Africans first. Social services belong to South African people first.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. There's a lot, the whole other discussion to be had on immigration, home affairs, the management of how people come into the country, how they're registered. Too many undocumented residents. I live in Switzerland. I'm in Switzerland right now. They know I'm here. They know where I live. They know how I earn my income. If I move from one locality to another, I need to go to the local main office and say, my name is so-and-so, I've just moved into this address. If I don't, the post office will not deliver my emails, my letters. That's how it works. And I think that's how it should be in South Africa as well.
Exactly.
But anyway, to our viewers out there, if you've come this far in this awesome conversation with Mr. Hlabisa, it means that you have enjoyed and you continue to enjoy WorldView. Thank you very much. Please continue to share, to subscribe to this platform. And for those of you who want to advertise on WorldView, please write to us at worldview.help@gmail.com. Mr. Hlabisa, I would like to thank you so very much for making the time to come and have this conversation with me. I hope that we shall do it again in the future as we head towards the 2024 elections.
I really enjoyed the platform and look forward to more opportunities. I really want to apologize the many times that have failed, at most load shedding. And even today, I was just holding my breath that, well, at 9 o'clock, can the load shedding end so that this interview is not disrupted further? Thank you very much.
It happened when it could happen, when it needed to happen. I think I really, really do. Have a lovely day further, sir.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, and this has been Solim Weng at WorldView. Goodbye.
Thank you.